5:44 local time. Naval support activity Bahrain minimum. 36 hours before exercise, Iron Shield commences. The sun was still burning when the encrypted message arrived. Naval support activity. Bahrain sits on a narrow strip of reclaimed land on the northeastern edge of Manama, pressed between the pale blue water of the Gulf and the sprawling industrial edge of Bahrain's capital. The base has been here since 1971, 5th Fleet headquarters, the nerve center of American naval power in the Middle East. Sailors walk its paved roads between low concrete buildings, shielded from the Gulf heat by corrugated aluminum canopies. The air smells of salt, jet fuel, and sun-baked asphalt. At 1844, inside a nondescript building marked simply NCIS Field Office, 5th Fleet, Special Agent Diana Reyes was reviewing a routine counterintelligence report on her second screen when her primary terminal chimed. Encrypted transmission, source classified, priority, flash. She opened it. 14 lines. No Zender name. Routed through 3 relay nodes, origin scrubbed. The message identified a serving U.S. Navy crew member aboard USS Bataan, hull number LHD-5, currently anchored in the outer harbor, as a possible intelligence asset for Iranian Ministry of Intelligence. The crew member's name was listed, his rate and billet were listed, and then one more detail that made Reyes set her coffee down carefully and not pick it up again. The transmission method. A mobile application called El Fajr Prayer Companion, available on both major app stores, rated 4.6 stars, used by hundreds of thousands of Muslims worldwide for daily prayer times and Quranic recitation. Clean interface, clean reviews, downloaded by the subject 7 months ago. Inside the app, buried beneath 3 menu layers in a settings function labeled Display Preferences, was a secondary encrypted messaging module that had never appeared in any public code review. It transmitted in 40-second burst packets on a frequency that mimicked standard app telemetry. To any network monitor, it looked like routine usage analytics, location pings, screen time data, habit patterns. What it was actually transmitting was ship movement schedules, anchor positions, and exercise parameters for USS Bataan and her amphibious ready group. For 7 months. Reyes picked up her secure phone and called her supervisor without reading the rest of the message. She had been with NCIS for 9 years. She had worked drug cases, fraud cases, one murder investigation aboard USS Dwight D. Eisenhower in 2019 that took 11 months to close. She had never worked a case where the clock was already running before she finished reading the evidence. She had 12 hours, maybe less. And the most dangerous part of the next 12 hours was not what she knew. It was what she did not know yet. Who in Iran had already received the data, what they had already put in motion, whether the information she was holding was the beginning of something or the middle of it. 6:22 local time, USS Bataan, Outer Harbor Anchorage. Gulf of Bahrain. USS Bataan is 844 feet long and displaces 40,500 tons fully loaded. She is a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship, the 5th of her class, commissioned in 1997 and continuously deployed across the world's most contested waterways ever since. Her flight deck carries a mixed air group of AV-8B Harrier jets, CH-53E Super Stallion helicopters, and MV-22B Ospreys tiltrotas. Below her flight deck, in the well deck that opens at the ship's stern, landing craft air cushion hovercraft sit loaded and ready, and packed into her troop berthing spaces below the waterline. 1,800 Marines from the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit were 4 days into pre-exercise preparations for Operation Iron Shield. Iron Shield was officially classified as a bilateral amphibious training exercise with Bahraini and Saudi naval forces. Realistically, every naval officer in 5th Fleet understood what it was: a demonstration of force, a visible reminder to Iran, whose coastline sits 150 nautical miles across the water from Bahrain's eastern shore, that American power projection capability in the Gulf remained intact, mobile, and ready. The exercise was scheduled to commence at 6 o'clock the following morning. Landing coordinates were pre-planned, the Marines were briefed, the hovercraft were loaded, the Ospreys were fueled. Petty Officer 2nd Class Khalid Mansour, electronics technician, was in the ship's communications bay on the O2 level, running a scheduled diagnostic on the satellite uplink arrays. He was 27 years old, He had enlisted straight out of a community college in Dearborn, Michigan. He had served 6 years. His evaluations described him consistently as diligent, technically proficient, and quiet. He had no disciplinary record. He had passed 2 standard security clearance renewals without incident. His supervisor had recommended him for promotion twice. His berthing mates considered him reserved but reliable. He fixed things when they broke and did not complain when the watch rotations were unfair. Nothing about him suggested what he was doing. That was the point. That had always been the point. At 6:22, he sent a routine-looking app telemetry packet from his personal phone during his authorized break period. The packet was 840 bytes. It contained, encoded within what appeared to be screen brightness and battery usage data, the complete landing coordinates for Operation Iron Shield's primary beach landing zone on the Bahraini coastline near Ras Al Bar. He pocketed his phone, returned to his diagnostic. The satellite array showed green across all parameters. He logged the results and moved to the next task. 7:15, local time, NCIS field office, NSA Bahrain. Reyes had 4 people in the room. Her supervisor, Supervisory Special Agent Marcus Webb, a signals intelligence analyst on loan from NSA Bahrain named Chin, a liaison officer from the carrier strike group's counterintelligence cell, and a lawyer from the Judge Advocate General's office whose presence meant they were already thinking about what happened after. Webb laid it out in 8 minutes. The tip had come from a human source inside Iranian intelligence. Reliability rating Bravo 2, meaning credible but unverified. The source had provided Mansour's name, his billet, and the name of the application 3 days ago. It had taken 72 hours to verify the app's secondary module existed, confirm Mansour had downloaded it, and cross-reference his network access logs against the transmission windows. The evidence chain had one problem. They could prove the app existed. They could prove Mansour had it. They could prove the transmission windows matched his break periods. What they could not yet prove was that Mansour was the one operating the secondary module rather than having downloaded a compromised app without knowing. The distinction mattered enormously in a federal prosecution. Without proof of intent, the case collapsed. The JAG officer was clear. You cannot arrest him on this. Not yet. Reyes looked at the timeline. Exercise commencement in less than 12 hours. The landing coordinates had almost certainly already transmitted. Someone in Iran had them. The question was what they intended to do with them. She asked the question nobody wanted to answer out loud. If Iranian forces know exactly where 1,800 Marines are landing at 6 o'clock tomorrow, what are their options? The room was quiet for 4 seconds. The liaison officer answered. Coastal artillery, drone swarm pre-positioned at the landing zone, a submarine already repositioned overnight. Any of the 3 would turn an exercise into a massacre before the first hovercraft touched the beach. Reyes looked at Webb. Webb looked at the lawyer. The lawyer said, "You cannot arrest him without the evidence." Reyes said, "I know, so we do not arrest him. We use him." 7:30 local time, USS Bataan, Communications Bay. Mansour did not notice anything different about the evening routine. The Communications Bay ran a standard watch rotation. He was relieved at 2000 hours, ate in the enlisted mess, and was back in his berthing compartment by 2100 hours. He read for 20 minutes. He performed his evening prayers with the Al-Fajr app open on the rug beside him, the soft recitation playing through his earbuds. He did not notice that the app's background data connection had been throttled to 0 at 2114 by a signal from NSA Bahrain's mobile device management interface. His phone showed full connectivity. The throttle was invisible. Nothing he tried to send would reach anyone. What he also did not notice was that the diagnostic terminal he had worked on that evening had been accessed remotely at 2058. Every file he had touched, every log he had written, every network packet his workstation had generated in the past 90 days had been quietly imaged and was now sitting on a secure server in the NCIS field office being analyzed by Chin. Chen found it at 2147, not in the app, in the diagnostic logs themselves. Mansour had queried the satellite uplink allocation schedule twice in the past 2 weeks on dates that did not correspond to any scheduled maintenance. The queries had returned the complete uplink windows for the amphibious ready group's encrypted communications. He had not needed those windows for any legitimate task. There was no technical explanation for why an electronics technician running routine diagnostics would need to know exactly when the ship's encrypted comm windows were open and when they went dark. Chen leaned back in his chair and stared at the screen for a full minute. In 9 years of signals work, he had learned that the most damning evidence was never dramatic. It was always small. A query that should not have been made. A log entry that did not match a work order. A data request 2 levels above the access level required for the stated task. People who betrayed their country rarely did it loudly. They did it in 40-second data bursts at 1922 during authorized break periods. They did it in diagnostic queries on quiet Tuesday afternoons. They did it in the spaces nobody was watching because nobody thought anyone was watching. That was intent. That was the thread the JAG officer needed. Chen called Webb. Webb called the ship's commanding officer through a secure line that bypassed all standard ship communications. The CO, Captain James Aldrich, listened for 4 minutes without speaking. Then he asked one question. "Is the exercise still going ahead?" Webb said, "That is your decision, Captain. But if we cancel, he knows we found him. And we lose the chain that leads to whoever is on the other end in Iran." Aldrich was quiet for 7 seconds. Then he said, "The exercise goes ahead. Modified landing coordinates only. Nobody on this ship except you, me, and the MEU commander knows the real beach has changed. Nobody." 7:55 local time, NCIS field office. While Mansour slept, Reyes and Chen worked on the second problem. The landing coordinates had already transmitted. Iran had them. The question was what Iran had already set in motion based on those coordinates. Chen accessed the NSA's passive collection on Iranian Revolutionary Guard coastal communications in the past 48 hours. What he found took him 20 minutes to fully process, and another 10 minutes to be certain enough to say out loud. Coastal radar near Bushehr had repositioned twice in the past 24 hours. A Ghadir-class midget submarine had departed its pen at Bandar Abbas at 1400 hours and was currently untracked, meaning it had gone silent somewhere in the Gulf. And 3 drone storage facilities along the Iranian coast near the island of Karg had shown elevated thermal signatures consistent with pre-launch preparation. Iran was not reading the coordinates as exercise data. They were treating it as an operational alert. The landing zone near Ras al-Bar was being pre-targeted. If 1,800 Marines landed on that beach at 6 o'clock with Iranian drones and a submarine already in position, the exercise would become something else entirely within minutes of the first hovercraft touching sand. Reyes looked at the clock. It was midnight. Exercise commencement in 6 hours. She called Webb. Webb called Aldrich. Aldrich called the MEU commander, Colonel Ray Denton, and told him what they knew. Denton's response was 4 words. Change the landing zone. The new coordinates were selected from a backup contingency plan that had never left a sealed envelope in Denton's safe. A different beach. 12 nautical miles north of the original. Harder approach, shallower water, but clean, uncompromised. At 0:30, new navigation packages were pushed to every hovercraft, every Osprey, every helicopter in the amphibious ready group through a direct encrypted link that bypassed the ship's standard communications architecture entirely. Mansour could not see it. His access credentials had been quietly downgraded at midnight to a level that excluded him from any operational communications. He would not know until morning if he noticed at all. 4:17 local time, USS Bataan, 02 level passageway. Mansour woke early for Fajr prayer. He dressed in the dark so as not to wake his berthing mates, took his prayer rug, and walked to a quiet corner of the 02 level he had used for months. He opened Al-Fajr. The app loaded normally, prayer times displayed, the recitation began softly. He did not know the app had been transmitting nothing since 21:14 the night before. He did not know that every access credential he held above the lowest clearance level had been suspended. He did not know that 2 NCIS agents were sitting in the communications bay, 40 feet away, waiting for him to finish his prayer, at which point they would walk him quietly to the ship's legal office and present him with evidence that would end his career his freedom, and his carefully maintained silence. He finished his prayer, he rolled his rug, he stood. The two agents were in the passageway when he turned around. 5:58 local time, Gulf of Bahrain. 2 minutes before the exercise commenced, the well-decked doors of USS Bataan opened. The first LSCAC hovercraft powered up, its 4 gas turbine engines screaming against the pre-dawn quiet of the Gulf. The rotor wash kicked spray across the well deck in white sheets. Marines in full combat load stood in 2 files on either side of the craft, steady, silent, faces forward. The hovercraft surged out of the well deck and hit open water at 40 knots, heading north-northeast, toward a beach that no Iranian radar was watching, that no Iranian drone was circling, that no Iranian submarine had repositioned to target. The real beach, 12 miles south, sat empty in the early morning light, quiet, waiting for something that was never going to arrive. 6 o'clock local time, Bandar Abbas, IRGCN Coastal Operations Center. An Iranian Revolutionary Guard Navy operator watched his radar screen as the American amphibious exercise commenced. The hovercraft showed clearly on surface search radar. He tracked their bearing with growing confusion. They were not heading for the coordinates in his targeting packet. They were going somewhere else entirely. He reported the discrepancy to his supervisor. His supervisor looked at the screen, looked at the coordinates, looked at the screen again. He picked up his phone. 6:43, local time, USS Bataan Legal Office. Mansour sat across a metal table from Reyes and Webb. The JAG officer sat to one side. The evidence package was 3 folders thick. Reyes laid it out methodically. The app, the module, the diagnostic queries, the transmission windows, the satellite uplink schedule access on dates with no legitimate maintenance purpose. Mansour looked at the table for a long time. Then he looked up. He did not ask for a lawyer immediately. He asked one question first. Did anyone get hurt? Reyes looked at him steadily. She said no. The beach was changed. He nodded once. Then he asked for a lawyer. Outside the legal office, through a porthole, the Gulf of Bahrain caught the early morning sun in long, flat ribbons of gold and blue. The exercise was proceeding normally. Marines were on the beach, Ospreys were overhead, the hovercraft were cycling back for the second wave. 1,800 Marines had landed on a beach that nobody was waiting for, because a prayer app had transmitted everything perfectly. An NCIS had received the tip 36 hours before it mattered, and a signals analyst named Chen had found intent in a diagnostic log at 2147, and a captain named Aldrich had decided in 7 seconds of silence that the exercise still went ahead, and a colonel named Denton had kept a sealed envelope in his safe that nobody had ever opened. Epilogue, NSA Bahrain Field Office, 3 days later. Chen finished his final report at 1422. The Al-Fajr application had been downloaded by 847,000 users across 34 countries. The secondary module was present in every version released in the past 14 months. The developer account was registered to a shell company in Dubai that traced back through 4 layers to a signals intelligence procurement unit of the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence operating out of Tehran. The app had been removed from both major stores by 9 o'clock the morning after Mansour's arrest. A quiet, coordinated request through national security channels. No public announcement, no press release, no explanation given to the 847,000 people who found the app missing from their phones that morning. Most of them simply downloaded another prayer app and moved on with their day. The most dangerous weapon aboard USS Bataan was never a missile, never a hovercraft, never the 1,800 Marines staged in the well deck. It was 840 bytes of data disguised as battery usage statistics, transmitted in 40-second bursts by an app that recited the Quran beautifully and had 4.6 stars and genuinely helpful reviews. It sat in plain sight for 7 months, downloaded by nearly 1 million people, rated 4.6 stars, reviewed as useful by thousands who never knew what else it was doing. It almost worked.